meeting with Maggie Docking. She is a doula with MD Birth Services, and she services the local Kansas City area. Welcome, Maggie. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm doing
Thanks for
good.
having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on and talking with our students. First off, let's talk about what a doula is and what you do.
Yes. So a lot of people ask that question. I am not a doctor. I am not a midwife. I do not deliver the babies. But I am emotional and physical support for the woman in labor and for her partner as well. So I'm also usually prenatal support for them too. I'm keeping in touch with them prenatally. I do a birth education class, which teaches them things that, perhaps the hospital doesn't teach, like optimal birthing positions, ways to try to make labor go smoother or perhaps faster, because nobody wants to be in labor forever. So I'm more thinking about like positioning and ways to help encourage labor to keep going, maybe faster, and emotionally, so teaching them that and then emotionally supporting them along the way. I am with them for their birth, and I don't leave. So, birth can be really long, birth can be really short. I am their one continuous support. Whereas when you're in a hospital, staff shift changes happen all the time. They get new nurses, new doctors and all that stuff. I'm the one solid person or continuous person there for them the whole time. And so I help keep them grounded in labor, and remind them that, this is normal, we can try this, things like that. I have other pain management techniques that obviously are not medicine, that can kind of help keeping them, especially if somebody is wanting to not have a lot of interventions in the hospital. I can kind of help keep those away or keep people from choosing to have interventions for a lot longer versus if we didn't have a doula there supporting them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good, well-rounded explanation about kind of, how you deal with your patients and the birth. So you went to college at Missouri State University, and you went to study graphic design. Is that correct?
I did. Has nothing to do with being a doula. I got my graphic design degree, taking all sorts of art classes and fine arts classes and computer technical design classes and things like that. And I did that for a while too, once I got my degree. And it was great. And I still do it on the side. And, I took some photography classes in college too. And now I'm also a birth photographer. So that's coming into play from my college degree as well. So it's kind of like mixing in a little bit. I was able to create my own logo and my own website and stuff because I'm a graphic designer. So, those skills are helping me. But yeah, it's totally different than what I was doing.
So how did you make that choice, and how long have you been a doula?
So I had my first child 7 years ago, and I had read enough about a doula and a midwife, and I found a midwife that works in hospitals. And so I went that route with my first pregnancy. And sorry, my dog's barking. And with my doula was just so much support for me in labor and in that birth with my daughter. I was so inspired after that. I was like, I got to help people have positive birth experiences. It's my opinion that there's not enough support in birth, especially like a real grounding, continuous support. And I'm like, I just have to like spread that to more people. So really it was the doula support that I had at my first birth that I was like, I need to do that. So I've been practicing as a doula for almost 3 years.
Okay.
And yeah.
What are the steps? Like you said, you had your undergrad degree in graphic design, and you realized at that time, you wanted to help people with that support. what are the steps that you need to do if somebody wants to become a doula? How do they go about doing that?
It's easier than a graphic design degree, but I just took a weekend long training here in Kansas City from
Okay.
someone that's certified to train doulas. And so that also offered like not just labor and birth, pregnancy, labor, birth support, but also like breastfeeding and postpartum support as well.
Yeah.
And so it was that training, and then I ended up joining with a team of doulas. Not, but you don't have to do it this way, but I was shadowing with them for a while, and then I just kind of joined their team, and they were already busy and running well. So I was with them for a while, and now I'm on my own. But yeah, I mean, it was a long training, and then it helps to shadow a few. Sometimes it's hard to get hired when you haven't attended a birth yet. A lot of moms don't want that. So, you know, maybe finding someone you could shadow for a few times would help. And then you can really just go with it from there.
Okay. So MD Birthing Services is a private practice doula service by you. You do baby photography as well. What is like, I'm not going to say a day in the life of, because you're probably not at the hospital or at their houses every day delivering babies, but what's a typical week look like for you? I know you talked about doing graphic design on the side and then having some kids at home as well. As a doula, what's a typical workload look like for you, or typical doulas, and then throughout like a week or a month maybe?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess kind of like my process with a client maybe
Yeah. Okay.
would be they contact me, you know, knock on wood. So far, it's been really great, just word of mouth.
Yeah.
Been working well for me so far. And you know, referrals or whatever, but they'll contact me and we'll meet for an interview to make sure we, you know, both feel connected, and we're a good fit for each other. She doesn't hate the side of my face or something, you know, something. She wants to be okay with me being there in labor. And I just go over, you know, everything that I do, everything that I offer, and the education with her partner as well, and then they can choose to hire me from there. I have 2 prenatal meetings with them in when they're close to their due date, and I do education with, you know, these are your options in a hospital. These are what these interventions mean. You actually have choices here. You don't have to just like accept the one thing that they walk in and suggest, and like why this could be a good thing to accept, or why maybe you want to ask for other options at this time. So I'm educating them beforehand that they have a say, because in a hospital, you don't always know that or feel that way, depending on the personality of the nurse that's in the room. And so basically I'm letting them know they have options in birth, and they can say no, and they can wait, and all that stuff. And that they don't have to let birth happen to them. They can choose how they want their birth to go. And it's just a little bit more twisted mindset in the hospital setting. Sometimes you don't realize that. So, and then I'm just on call for them. So the hours of a doula are not ideal. I get up in the middle of the night a lot, and I can be gone for a long, long time. No sleep. But yeah, I'm just there with continuous support, whether I meet them at their house and labor with them there at their house for a little while and help them decide when they want to go to the hospital, or wherever they're going to birth. And then I'm just with them throughout, usually taking photos, and then stay and help them with breastfeeding afterwards, and making sure both mom and baby are stable, because that can kind of be a really important time. And then I leave and I go home and I sleep. And then I check in with them every day for like 1 to 2 weeks. And I visit them at their house 1 week or 2 weeks postpartum to make sure they're doing okay. You know, I'm trained to look for signs of postpartum depression, and, you know, helping with nursing at that time too can be a pretty big deal. So I'm still support for them afterwards as well, because the postpartum period is such a big shift, I guess. Yeah, big change. And so you need a lot of support there too. You shouldn't just support them at birth and then forget about them.
Right.
Um, yeah. And then, I really like developing relationships with those couples and, hope that a lot of them we stay friends afterwards too. So it's nice.
That's pretty cool. Be able to see the kids grow up and see that
Yeah. Yeah.
development. Yeah. So you kind of talked about your why a little bit at the beginning as a doula, with your kid or your first child being born. Kind of what should people that are looking into wanting to become doulas do as far as education wise, or thinking of like how do you start researching how to become a doula?
Um, I mean, there are a couple of books that I could suggest
Yeah,
for
that
reading.
works. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Ina May, it's INA May Gaskin. What is that book called? I should know this. Um, The Guide to Childbirth.
Okay.
Or Penny Simkins, The Birth Partner. Those are really good because they talk about how birth can be a natural process. I think I'm going off of your question just a little bit here, but if you're delivering at the hospital, birth is the only time you're walking into a hospital where nothing's actually wrong with you.
Yeah.
Usually, every other time something is wrong with you, and so those books teach you that birth can be a very natural thing and your body can do it really well on its own without the help of doctors a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And so, that's not something that I knew when I was in high school or college. It's not something I knew until I was ready to have a baby that, I thought that I needed the hospital to help me have a baby, but like really our bodies know how to do it on their own. And so, the doula helps support that process go as naturally and intervention free as possible. And we're just not really taught that in society today, in this country a lot too. And I also learned that of all the first world countries, the United States birth rates are really bad. We come in like pretty much last. And so a doula is aware of those things and trying to keep those things away also for the clients. So, I mean, for me, it's like a realization of those things that made me become passionate about it, reading the books and just like finding that information out there online was what I guess the prep work really. And then just finding a good doula training around the city, whether it's all in one weekend or spread out. And then just being really loyal and compassionate about each person you have. And, I don't know.
You're seeing them over, a 2, 3, 4 week span, meeting with them prior to birth, meeting with them at their house before you go to the hospital, at the hospital or at their home, and then the 1 to 2 weeks afterwards. So you're really dealing with the client for a month or so. So being able to have that relationship is a big aspect of that.
Yeah. Yeah. They want to be able to, trust you and, put their faith in you and be able to ask you questions. And it's sometimes hard to give an unbiased opinion, especially when you know something, but to be able to support their wishes, as long as you can educate them on the why, or that you have two options here instead of just the one, that can be huge for them too.
Yeah.
To trust
Let's talk a little bit about work relationships with people in the hospital. Who all do you deal with through this process? I mean, your number one priority is client, uh, baby, and who else do you deal with while you're there?
Yeah, so I'm obviously supporting the mother, but I'm also, prenatally, but showing the father the partner how they can support the mom as well. And so like they are working together as a team, and I'm kind of like the next layer out, protecting them or filling in a place that I see that she could need help as well. So like I'm making sure that the partner is supported, and that I'm not stepping on their toes, like kicking them out, making them feel insignificant. Just like the next layer out. And because this is a sacred moment for her, a sacred moment for him, and a very big moment for the baby too. I feel that birth really matters, and the way that birth can play out can affect them all long term. So oftentimes in a hospital setting, I do have to protect their space, sort of, because sometimes you don't get friendly staff. You don't get friendly nurses. You don't get friendly, OBs. Dare I say that? But, there are egos in the room, or, somebody can really want dim lighting, calm music, very quiet setting. And when people are coming in every 5 minutes and checking on, whatever, a machine's beeping, I'm really trying to protect that space for them, which is hard. But I have to really work with those nurses a lot of the time, and the doctors, because I also don't want to make them mad. Because I need them to like me and be okay with the suggestions I'm making, like, hey, let's get her into a squat. Well, the nurses don't see that all the time. And so they're like, whoa, 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 what is that? That sounds ridiculous or scary or whatever. So if you have a nurse I just want to make sure the nurses like me, so that they're open to my suggestions, willing to work as a team, instead of us fighting each other, and then my options with the mom become more limited and my suggestions are, turned down.
Right.
There are also things like, I know that this client, she wants things like immediate skin to skin, like put the baby on the mom's chest right after the baby's born. It's really good for hormones and breastfeeding and bonding and body temperature, so many things. And also like not clamping the umbilical cord right away, letting all the blood get to the baby. And so I'm reminding the doctor in the room the moments before the baby's born, like just a reminder, she wants these things. These are really important to her. And I can't make the doctor mad, because they're going to be less likely to do that if I'm rude or offensive or whatever. So I have to be really careful trying to work with the nurses and doctors, making sure that they like me, but also supporting my client at the same time and trying to get her everything that she wanted. So it can be tricky sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So through your 3 years of being a doula, what's something that you can look back at and think of, this is something that you're most proud of so far?
I mean, it's really nice when, um, well, let's see, when a provider, I recently, it was a midwife in a hospital, was so impressed that she started referring me, she and the nurse that day started referring patients to me. And that just really made me feel good that a provider saw the benefit in everything that I was doing. And obviously she liked me enough. I wasn't stepping on her toes or whatever. That was huge. That's been a really big reward. And also like when you're working so hard with a mom, she doesn't want an epidural. She doesn't want any interventions at all. And she's really struggling. And when you can just really fight to help her pull through, and she gets that her wishes,
Right.
that just pays off like so much. It's so rewarding.
Yeah, that's pretty cool to be able to be there and be that supportive person for them.
Yeah.
Is there anything you regret not doing so far as a doula? Could be, going into the career field earlier. Could be, maybe some sort of I don't know, path that you could have taken.
I'm not sure. For me, no, the timing was right. I didn't want to be doing this before I was doing it. I didn't want to do it when my kids were little babies. I waited. I never would have seen myself doing this. I don't like blood and I don't like needles. um, so I don't know if when I was younger that I would have been doing it. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, you don't know what you don't know yet, and
Yeah,
that's totally
yeah.
fine. Um, as a health and PE teacher, some of the benefits of my job, I have a pool that I teach swimming in. I have a weight room at my disposal. I have a gym next to me, so I'm able to do a bunch of stuff whenever I'm, teaching my classes and being active. What are some of the benefits to you personally of being a doula?
Well, I get to witness a miracle every time. I get to witness birth, and that's just so amazing to be around. Um, and it's amazing to me every time that anyone would invite me into their birth. um, you know, that's such an honor too. So those are two huge benefits that I get to witness every time and
That
take part of.
definitely is worth it.
Yeah.
So professional development, like every career and profession, you have some sort of stuff that you need to do to continue your education and learning about specific things. What type of professional development do doulas look at, as well as, maybe some personal development that you choose to do on your own?
Professional development could be just, trying to learn as much as you can about how to support moms, learning the ways of the hospital and, the monitors and what the beeping is so that you can explain those things to your client who might be freaking out that the machine's beeping. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with the baby kind of thing. So learning as much hospital stuff as you can just so that you can be an educated, like an informed voice in the room and tell her, especially if the nurse isn't in there to tell you. So kind of like learning all of that. I did a spinning babies training, which is, I always thought that it was just for breech babies and, you turn them, but it's not. So much more. It's thinking about like the positioning in the pelvis and getting the baby into an optimal position or making space in the pelvis so that baby can get into an optimal position. So thinking a lot about that was the spinning babies training, and most nurses are not trained in that or trained to think about that. They're mostly on the medicine side, and so sometimes those different positionings can like open up the pelvis, get labor to go much faster, and nurses don't know how to help with any of that. So training like that could be good to keep continuing. Also educating yourself with breastfeeding and breastfeeding support, and then also postpartum support too, because it's such a big thing for moms and dads. So kind of like it's not just about birth itself, but being able to expand broader to be able to help them more, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So as in like your personal development, what has being a doula kind of taught you about, maybe other things outside of the hospital?
Um, yeah, it's made me be more compassionate for people and try to see things from their side and support them, even if you don't necessarily agree with it or whatever. It's made me braver in helping people. I actually recently I was driving and I drove upon a car accident that had just happened, and police and ambulances were not at the scene yet, and um, I was like, I just rolled down my window and I was like, do you guys need help? And they said yes. And so I pulled over and I got out and I was like, I have no idea what I'm about to see. People were very hurt. But there's no way I would have been brave enough or felt as pulled to like, I should help people. Being a doula and helping people has made me go more that route. So yeah, before I was a doula, I wouldn't have had the guts to pull over at a car accident and try to help. And I just went all in. I mean, honestly, there wasn't much I could do, but I could do a little, and I just tried to do what I could do. So I know that my doula training and my doula experience made me able to help there.
Yeah, especially that emotional support, being able to talk to the person and kind of calm them down, being in scenarios like that regularly would definitely help with that kind of training, I think.
Yeah, no, they say that just physical touch can do so much. It can help calm a body down and all that stuff. And so I'm like, I'm not medically trained, but I can go up to this person here and I can at least, just putting a hand on them, letting them know someone's here, and I can kind of talk to them like, okay, I'm just letting you know a police officer just showed up. They're checking out this car. They're going to come check out you. She was like, okay. So no one else is there. She's just otherwise by herself, has no idea what's going on. And so if I can be a little bit grounding for her at all in that instance, the doula training brought that out of me. And that's not something I would have known to do before that.
Absolutely. So being in the industry for a couple of years now, what are some of your career goals as a doula? Maybe 5-10 years down the road, what do you see yourself looking like?
I don't know for sure. I don't know why, but being a doula still feels new to me. It's probably not necessarily true, but, I would like to be busy enough where perhaps I can pick and choose my clients.
Yeah.
I prefer to work with providers that I know are supportive of mother's choice in birth, and as a doula, I don't have to fight so hard for her wishes, where maybe the providers, do some of that by default. And they're not just trying to get on with their day per se. I mean, I know it's hard because doctors, are controlled by insurance in that sense, and they need to, meet their quota and everything. So, um, I would like to be able to pick and choose so that I can work with providers that are supportive of mothers, and I don't have to fight so hard, and I can really just focus on supporting the mom and the dad and the baby, and that would be ideal down the road. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's hard because anybody at a hospital needs support too, like the ones that don't have great practitioners, they need the support more, but it's like I can only let myself witness some of that so much. I don't know.
So let's look back, maybe in high school or in college. What is something that you think you wish you would have known then that would help you with your career now?
I wasn't thinking about birth very much in
Right.
high school or college, so it is hard, but birth is not the TV drama that we all think it is.
Okay.
What we see on TV, that's, not really real birth. And it doesn't have to be so scary. It doesn't have to be whatever some of that scary TV drama is either. That birth is such a natural and normal process. Perhaps we don't need to fear it so much.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So with your job duties, I use basketballs and hand paddles and all sorts of stuff as a PE teacher. What are some of the devices that you use on a daily basis that kind of help you with your career?
Well, for sure, my phone. I am tech support to my clients, pretty much 100% of the time, and guiding them through pregnancy and early labor. I need my phone. Like, that feels like the number one thing. But my hands are a big tool. They are a pain management technique to the client. If I'm giving them squeezing their hips for, relieving pain, massage, acupressure points, just physical touches, grounding. And so my hands are such a huge tool in my career. those aren't really products though. I mean, okay, yeah, I've been using essential oils a lot too for women in labor. They can help with grounding. They can help with nausea, headaches, some pain relief as well. So, kind of exploring all the options.
Yeah. Those are also really cool. So this one's a two-part question. The first one is, if you dislike blank, then being a doula is not for you. And the second part of it is, if you do like blank, then being a doula is something for you.
If you dislike unpredictable hours and getting up in the middle of the night, and being on call, then a doula is not for you. That's the hardest part.
Okay.
But if you like, I guess it's, if you like babies, if you love witnessing birth, if you love witnessing a miracle, and if you love being able to help people, then being a doula is for you.
Absolutely. So next, let's kind of look at, who inspires you in your career field. Somebody that you look up to, or somebody that kind of helps you be a better person and a better worker.
So of the two books I suggested, Ina May, she was a midwife, and so she's inspirational and a little bit groundbreaking in some ways, and just very knowledgeable. So she would be somebody to admire, the wisdom and knowledge that she has.
Yeah.
I had a great aunt that passed away when I was in high school, and she was caring for people in hospice with her line of work. And it meant a lot to me then, but now as a doula, I've thought about her a lot more, because, I'm caring for people at the beginning of life, and she was caring for people at the end of life. So it's kind of like honoring and respecting these big life moments, these big life stages. She's just felt like an inspiration to me too, in an interesting and different way. She's not here to tell me that now, but the doula work has brought that to my attention, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And last one, what is a quote or mantra that you kind of live your life by?
Be the change you wish to see in the world. And so, I'm trying to, one by one, make birth a better place for people, teach that to hospital staff, and teach it to the individual client. Birth doesn't have to be so feared. Birth can be supported. Birth can be a choice, choose along the way. And so I think I'm trying to change that one person at a time.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending your time with us today and kind of diving into the world of what a doula is, and the career path and reasons why you chose becoming a doula, and really appreciate you taking the time to talk about it.
Yeah,